I never thought I'd see the Afghan mountains again, but here I was, boots on the ground, leading a small reconnaissance team through the rugged terrain of Kunar province. The year was 2019, and I was Staff Sergeant Marcus Reeves, a combat medic with the 75th Ranger Regiment. This was supposed to be my last deployment before I returned home to Virginia, where my wife Sarah and our 5-year-old daughter Emma were waiting. The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky landscape as our 4-man team moved carefully through a narrow mountain pass. Specialist Rodriguez walked point, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. Behind him, Corporal Johnson carried our communications equipment, and Private First Class Chen brought up the rear. I moved in the middle, my medical pack weighing heavily on my shoulders. We'd been tracking insurgent activity in the area for 3 days. Our mission was simple: observe, report, and avoid engagement unless absolutely necessary. But anyone who's spent time in Afghanistan knows that simple missions rarely stay that way. Rodriguez raised his fist, signaling us to stop. We froze, dropping into defensive positions. Then I heard it, voices speaking in Pashto coming from somewhere above us. We'd walked right into their territory. I made hand signals: fall back, quietly, maintain spacing. We began our retreat when the first shot rang out. The crack of the AK-47 echoed through the canyon, and suddenly the air was filled with bullets ricocheting off rocks. "Contact!" Rodriguez shouted as we scrambled for cover. The ambush had been perfectly planned. They had the high ground, superior numbers, and we were caught in a bottleneck. Johnson called for immediate extraction. "Air support is 20 minutes out," he yelled over the chaos. I could see muzzle flashes from at least 3 positions above us. We were pinned down, ammunition running low. Then I heard Chen scream. I turned to see him go down, clutching his leg, blood darkening his uniform. Without thinking, I broke cover and ran toward him, my medical training overriding survival instinct. Bullets kicked up dirt around my feet as I slid next to Chen. The bullet had gone clean through his thigh, missing the femoral artery by inches. I was applying a tourniquet when I felt the impact. It was like being hit by a sledgehammer, a burning sensation in my right shoulder that spun me around and knocked me flat. I'd been shot. Through the haze of pain, I saw Rodriguez and Johnson still fighting. I tried to reach for my sidearm, but my right arm wouldn't respond. The world started spinning. "Man down! Man down!" Rodriguez shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. The last thing I remember was the sound of an RPG exploding nearby, and then I was falling, tumbling down a rocky slope. My body hit every outcropping on the way down. I came to rest at the bottom of a ravine, 20 feet below where the firefight continued. Every inch of my body screamed as I tried to move. My right shoulder was useless, blood soaking through my uniform. My left ankle was twisted at an unnatural angle, probably broken. My rifle was gone. Above me, the sounds of battle began to fade. Either my team was falling back or they'd been overrun. I hoped they'd made it out. The rational part of my brain knew they couldn't come back for me. As adrenaline wore off, the pain crashed over me. I fumbled for my medical pack with my left hand, but it had been torn away during the fall. I was hurt, alone, and armed with only my sidearm and a single magazine. Through the blood loss and shock, one thought kept circling. I needed to survive for Sarah and Emma. The sun was beginning its descent. Soon it would be night, and the temperature would drop below freezing. I tried to move toward an overhang about 15 feet away, but even the slightest movement sent lightning bolts of pain through my body. That's when I heard footsteps on the rocks above me. They were coming down to finish what they'd started. I drew my M9 pistol with my left hand, though I was right-handed and my accuracy would be terrible. 15 rounds. That's all I had. 2 figures appeared at the top of the ravine, silhouetted against the darkening sky. Taliban fighters. One was older, maybe in his 40s, with a long grey beard. The other was younger, perhaps not even 20. Both carried AK-47s. The younger one spotted me first. He raised his rifle, finger on the trigger, and I knew this was it. I thought of Emma's last birthday, how she'd made me promise to come home safe. I thought of Sarah. I raised my pistol, determined to take at least one of them with me, but my hand was shaking so badly I could barely keep it steady. The young fighter took aim and I waited for the muzzle flash, but it never came. The older man reached out and pushed the younger one's rifle down, saying something sharply in Pashto. They argued, their voices carrying down to where I lay, broken and bleeding. The young one gestured at me, clearly wanting to finish the job. The older one kept refusing. Finally, the older man started climbing down into the ravine toward me. Every instinct screamed at me to shoot, but something made me hesitate. Maybe it was the blood loss. Maybe it was the way he'd stopped the younger fighter, or maybe I was just too tired to fight anymore. He approached slowly, hands visible, rifle slung across his back. When he got close enough, he knelt beside me, his weathered face showing neither hatred nor pity, just determination. He looked at my wounds, at my shaking hand still holding the pistol. Then he did something I never expected. He reached into a pouch and pulled out medical supplies, bandages, antiseptic, a proper tourniquet. He gestured at my shoulder, making it clear what he intended to do. "Why?" I managed to croak out. He didn't answer, just began carefully cutting away my uniform to access the wound. The young fighter shouted something from above, but the older man ignored him, focused on stopping my bleeding. His hands were steady and practiced. The pain of him cleaning and packing the wound nearly made me pass out, but I stayed conscious. He applied the tourniquet with expert precision, then examined my ankle. Throughout it all, he worked in silence. When he finished, he sat back and looked at me with dark, tired eyes. For a moment, we just stared at each other, two soldiers on opposite sides of a war. Then he spoke, his English heavily accented but clear. "You have daughter. I see picture. Fall from pocket." He held up the photo I always carried. Emma on her 4th birthday, gap-toothed smile, holding the stuffed bear I'd sent her. My heart clenched. "Son," he continued, tapping his chest. "Taliban kill. Americans kill. War kill everyone, children." He carefully placed the photo back in my hand. "No more, I know kill you. You go home, daughter." He stood up, called something to the young fighter above, and began climbing back up. I lay there in shock, clutching Emma's picture, trying to process what had just happened. An enemy combatant had not only spared my life, but had treated my wounds. As darkness fell, I heard helicopter rotors in the distance, the extraction team finally arriving. The older man must have heard them too, because he disappeared over the ridge. I'd come to Afghanistan believing in clear lines between good and evil, friend and enemy. In 15 minutes, a Taliban fighter had shown me more mercy than I'd expected. As the rescue helicopter's spotlight found me, I realized this war was far more complicated than any of us wanted to admit. But I was alive. Against all odds, because of an enemy's unexpected compassion, I would see my daughter again. And that changed everything. The flight to Bagram airfield was a blur of pain medication and concerned faces. Army doctors worked on me during the flight. My shoulder wound was serious but clean. The bullet had passed through without hitting bone. My ankle was broken but would heal. But the physical wounds weren't what kept me awake during those first nights in the field hospital. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that older man's face, felt the strange mercy of his hands. I kept Emma's photo on the table next to my bed. Captain Williams came to debrief me on my 3rd day. She was a no-nonsense intelligence officer from Texas. She pulled up a chair, tablet in hand. "Staff Sergeant Reeves, walk me through everything after you were separated from your team." I told her everything. When I got to the part about the older man treating my wounds, she stopped writing and looked up sharply. "He treated your wounds? You're certain?" "Ma'am, I was bleeding out. Without his intervention, I wouldn't have made it. He used proper medical supplies, applied a tourniquet correctly. Someone trained him, and he chose to save an enemy soldier." She leaned back, processing this. "Did he say anything?" I pulled Emma's photo from my pocket. "He saw this, said he lost his son to the war. He said he wouldn't kill me because I had a daughter to go home to." The captain was quiet. "Is there any possibility you imagined parts of this? Blood loss can cause—" "The medics confirmed my wounds were treated before extraction arrived," I interrupted. "They noted that someone had applied a tourniquet and packed the wound. I didn't do that myself, I couldn't have." She nodded slowly. "I believe you, Reeves. It's just, this doesn't fit the narrative we usually see. The enemy is supposed to be the enemy. What you're describing makes people uncomfortable." Over the next 2 weeks, I learned that my team had made it out. Rodriguez, Johnson, and Chen were all alive. The guilt they felt about leaving me was palpable when they visited. "Brother, we thought you were gone," Rodriguez said, his voice thick with emotion. "You did the right thing," I told him firmly. "You got Chen out. You survived." On my 15th day at Bagram, I got a video call from Sarah. When her face appeared, tears were streaming down her cheeks. "Marcus," she sobbed, "are you really okay?" "I'm okay, baby. I got shot, broke my ankle, but I'm healing. I'll be coming home soon." "I thought I lost you. Every deployment, I prepare myself for that knock on the door." "Sarah, something happened out there. Something I need to tell you about." I explained everything. She listened, confusion replacing fear on her face. He just helped you. Why? Because of Emma, I said, holding up the photo. He'd lost his own son. He didn't want Emma to lose her father. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Part of me wants to hate him because he's Taliban, but he saved your life. How am I supposed to reconcile those things? I don't know. All I know is that war is messier than anyone wants to admit, and humanity exists even where we don't expect to find it. Just come home, that's all that matters now. Is Emma there? Emma's face filled the screen, her eyes going wide. Daddy, Mommy said you got hurt. Just a little hurt, princess. But I'm getting better and I'll be home soon. Did you get hurt fighting bad guys? I paused. I got hurt doing my job. But Emma, I learned something important. Sometimes people we think are bad aren't completely bad. Sometimes everyone is just trying to do what they think is right. The next weeks passed in physical therapy and medical evaluations. My shoulder was healing well, though I might never regain full range of motion. The ankle required a surgical pin. Major Patterson, the base psychologist, visited me regularly. She was a sharp woman from Boston with kind eyes. You're processing trauma, Marcus. Not just from being shot, but from having your worldview fundamentally challenged. You went into that valley with clear ideas about who the enemy was, and you came out having been saved by one of them. I keep thinking about him, wondering who he is. Does it matter? Would it change the fact that he chose mercy? I just feel like I owe him something. He gave me my life back and I don't even know his name. By living well, by being the best father and husband you can be, by remembering that humanity exists even in the darkest places. That's how you honor what he did. 6 weeks after the ambush, I was cleared for transport back to the States. As the plane lifted off from Bagram, I looked out at the Afghan mountains disappearing below. Somewhere down there was a man who'd shown me that the enemy could be more merciful than we expected. I would carry that knowledge home with me, along with my physical scars, and somehow I would have to find a way to live with owing my life to someone whose side had tried to kill me. The plane banked west toward home, toward Sarah and Emma, and a future I'd been given as a gift. As Virginia grew closer, I realized that understanding that gift was exactly what the world needed more of. But first I needed to go home and hug my daughter. Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda became my temporary home. My shoulder required 2 additional surgeries. The physical therapy was grueling. My physical therapist was a former Marine named Derek Thompson who'd lost his left leg to an IED in Fallujah. He pushed me harder than I wanted. Your shoulder will never be 100%, but we can get you to 85% functionality. That's enough to live a normal life, hold your daughter, throw a baseball, but only if you put in the work. So I put in the work. Every day, I pushed through exercises that left me sweating. Slowly, I made progress. At night, I had dreams about the ambush, about falling, about the moment when I thought I was going to die. Captain James Morrison, who specialized in combat-related PTSD, became my counselor. He was soft-spoken with a calm presence. What you're experiencing is moral injury. It happens when something challenges your fundamental beliefs about right and wrong. Being saved by someone you were trained to see as the enemy, that's profound. How do I deal with it? By accepting that humans are complex, that morality isn't always black and white. Fighting against that reality causes suffering. 3 months after returning to the States, I went home. The drive back to Richmond felt surreal. Emma had made a welcome home banner decorated with crayon drawings. "Welcome home, Daddy," she shouted, and I had to blink back tears. That first week was an adjustment. I couldn't sleep properly. Every sound made me alert. Sarah was patient, but I could see the worry. "I keep thinking about him," I admitted one night. "The man who saved me." "Maybe you should try to find out," Sarah suggested. I dismissed it as impossible, but Sarah's suggestion planted a seed. I started making calls. I contacted Captain Williams. She was skeptical. "Reeves, the odds of finding this man are astronomical." "I know, ma'am, but I have to try." Over the next weeks, I became obsessed. I reached out to intelligence contacts, to translators who'd worked in Kunar province. Most inquiries went nowhere. 4 months later, Captain Williams called. "Reeves, I may have found something. There's a translator at Bagram named Karim who knows the story of a Taliban fighter who helped an American soldier." 2 days later, I was on a video call with Karim. He was thin with tired eyes. "Staff Sergeant Reeves, the man you're looking for is Ahmad Shah. He's known in his village as a man of honor. Can you tell me about him?" Karim sighed. "Ahmad's son was killed 3 years ago. The boy was 16, caught in crossfire during a raid. No one knows which side fired the bullet. Ahmad's wife blamed him. said his choice to join the Taliban brought violence to their home. She left him, took their 2 daughters to Pakistan. My chest tightened. This man had lost everything. After his son died, Ahmad became different. He still fought, but people say he had no more hate, only sadness. When he sees you with your daughter's picture, maybe he remembers his son. Is he still alive? I don't know, but I can try to find out. Please, I need to know. 6 weeks passed with no word. Then Karim called. Staff Sergeant Reeves, Ahmad Shah is alive, but he has left the Taliban. After he helped you, his commander questioned his loyalty. Ahmad fled to a village near the Pakistani border, where he works now as a teacher for young children. Relief washed over me. Can I contact him? I can send a message through friends, but you must understand, it's dangerous for him if anyone knows he helped an American soldier. Please, just tell him the American soldier he helped is home with his daughter. Tell him his mercy gave a little girl her father back. Tell him I will never forget. I will tell him. After the call, I sat in the dark for a long time. Ahmad Shah had lost his son, his family, his place among his people, and yet he'd found enough humanity to save an enemy's life. Sarah found me there. Did you get your answer? Yes, he's alive. He's teaching children. 3 weeks later, I received an email from Karim. He delivered my message. Ahmad's response was simple but profound. Tell the American soldier I am glad he is home with his daughter. Tell him my son would have been proud to know his father's choice gave life instead of taking it. Tell him that mercy is the only victory that matters in war. I read those words over and over. Then I printed the email and put it with Emma's photo. That night, I slept through until morning for the first time in months. The nightmares didn't stop completely, but they became less frequent. I'd found the understanding I needed, that compassion could exist anywhere, even between enemies. It was a truth I would carry with me for the rest of my life. Spring came to Richmond, with Virginia's beautiful colors. My shoulder had healed as much as it would, about 83% functionality. I could hold Emma, throw a ball, do all the normal dad things. The Army offered me a medical retirement with full benefits. At 34, my combat days were over. The question was, what came next? The answer came from an unexpected source. At Emma's school for Parent-Teacher Day, I noticed a flyer, Veterans Support Group, every Thursday 7 p.m. Community Center. I decided to attend. The group met in a small room. There were about 15 of us, ranging from Vietnam vets to recent returnees. The facilitator was a former Army chaplain named Father Mackenzie. When Father Mackenzie asked if I wanted to share, I told them about Ahmad Shah. I expected skepticism, but instead, I saw understanding. That's the thing they don't tell you, a Marine named David said. The enemy is people too. Sometimes they're more merciful than we are. After the meeting, Father Mackenzie pulled me aside. Marcus, have you ever thought about peer counseling, working with other veterans? I'm not a therapist. You spent years taking care of soldiers' physical wounds. Many carry invisible wounds. The principle is the same. And you've done serious healing work yourself. I researched programs for veteran peer counselors. I found a certification program at Virginia Commonwealth University. I discussed it with Sarah. It wouldn't pay as much as other options, but it feels right. Do it, Sarah said. You've spent your life serving others. If this is another way to do that, I'm all for it. I enrolled that fall. It was challenging but transformative. My experience with Ahmad Shah became a central part of my healing narrative. Dr. Patricia Henderson was particularly interested. Marcus, your experience challenges the binary thinking that traps veterans. Have you considered sharing this story more widely? What do you mean? Speaking engagements, using your experience to help others understand the complexity of war. I completed the program in March. My first job was with the Richmond Veterans Resource Center. My role was to lead support groups and provide one-on-one counseling. The work was hard in ways combat never was, but I could sit with veterans in their pain, share my story, and remind them they weren't alone. 6 months in, I agreed to speak at a community event. My hands shook as I stood at the podium, looking out at about 100 people. I told them about Ahmad Shah, about lying in that ravine and being saved by someone I'd been trained to see as less than human. Ahmad Shah lost his son to this war. He had every reason to hate Americans. But when he saw my daughter's picture, he saw his own son. He saw that fathers love their children regardless of what flag they fight under. I paused, looking at the faces. I'm not saying the enemy isn't real or that war isn't necessary sometimes. I'm saying we can't forget the humanity of those we fight. Ahmad Shah reminded me of that. He showed me that mercy can exist anywhere. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, dozens came up to talk. But the most important conversation came from a young Marine named Carlos, who'd returned from Afghanistan 3 months earlier. His eyes were haunted. "Staff Sergeant, I did things over there I'm not proud of. How do I live with that?" I thought about Ahmad Shah. You live with it by accepting that war is morally complex, but you can choose what kind of person you are from this point forward. You can choose mercy. Carlos's eyes filled with tears. "Do you really believe that?" "Yes. I believe it because someone showed me mercy, and if it happened once, it can happen again." A year later, I received an email from Karim. Ahmad Shah had moved to Kabul, working with a peace organization that reconciled former Taliban fighters with the Afghan government. He often tells the story of the American soldier he helped. He uses it as an example of how enemies can see each other's humanity. Emma, now 7, put it simply when I told her, "Daddy, you should go say thank you to the man who helped you." Several months later, through a documentary filmmaker named Rachel Stone, a meeting was arranged. She wanted to film our reunion. The meeting took place in Kabul. When Ahmad Shah walked in, I stood immediately. He was smaller than I'd remembered, his beard more grey, but his eyes were the same, tired, sad but kind. I placed my hand over my heart and said in Pashto, "Manana, thank you." Ahmad smiled and repeated the gesture. We sat down, and through Karim we talked for 3 hours. Ahmad told me about his son. "When I see your daughter picture, I see my son. I could not save him, but I could save you. Maybe this helps balance what war has taken. You did more than save my life. You reminded me that even enemies are human. Because of you, I help other veterans heal now." Ahmad nodded. "If we both use what happened to help others, maybe one small mercy becomes many mercies. Maybe this is how peace truly comes." Before we parted, I gave him a photo of Emma at age 7. On the back, "Because of you, she still has her father." Ahmad held the photo, his eyes filling with tears. I show this to people when I speak about peace. I tell them enemies can become brothers if we choose mercy. We embraced 2 fathers who'd been enemies but who'd found something more important. The documentary premiered a year later. It sparked conversations around the world about war, mercy, and reconciliation. But the real impact was simpler. I continued helping veterans heal. Ahmad continued his peace work, and Emma grew up learning that the world was more complicated and more hopeful than simple stories of good versus evil. One night, Emma asked as I tucked her into bed, "Daddy, do you still think about Mr. Ahmad?" "Every day, Princess. You always smile when you talk about him. I think that's important, that even people we think are bad can do good things." I kissed her forehead. "You're right, Emma. The world would be much better if everyone remembered that. Ahmad Shah had given me more than my life. He'd given me a purpose, a mission that mattered. He'd shown me that mercy could bridge any divide, that humanity existed even in the darkest places, and that one choice to do good could echo forward through time. In the end, maybe that's what victory really looks like. Not defeating an enemy, but finding the courage to see their humanity and choosing mercy over revenge. One act of mercy in a war-torn valley. 2 lives changed, countless ripples spreading outward. That's the power of choosing humanity over hatred, and that's a lesson worth living for.